Hi, it's Martin's Engine Services. Well, it's time for part 3 on the Ford 1.4 zetec SE. I've cleaned the top of the block, put the head gasket on, check the piston arrows again. Gasket can't really go wrong, it's quite obvious where the oil holes go. The big holes line up, the little holes line up, so should be good to go. I finished shimming the cylinder head. Annoying, you have to take all the cams back out again before you put the head on. So I'll just bring the head over now and put it in place. Remembering, don't tip the head up at too much of an angle because all the shims will fall out. There we go. Right, seems to fit where intended, so it's good to go. So the shims are all sitting in there loose. I do have a record of the numbers and which cylinders they're in, so if there's any disasters, we can sort that out. So I'll just wind the head bolts down, get the head bolts in position. I think this is definitely the item of conjecture of the week, cylinder head bolts. But I know these are good, so it won't be an issue. So I'll get them all in and tighten them all up, and then I'll bring you back along when it's time to put the cams and that back in, because I mean, say watching someone tightening up a load of head bolts isn't the most exciting thing on the planet. Make a little adjustment here. There we go. Right, back in a mo. Right, there we go. Head all on. These aren't too bad. It's there's two torque settings. Loosen them off. Retorque the second torque setting, and then 90 degrees. So pretty straightforward, no problem. Now it's time to fit the camshafts. Now obviously you've got to get the right cam in the right hole. The exhaust is on the back, which always confuses me because I'm used to the Vauxhalls. Exhaust is on the back, and there is the timing pickup for the camshaft sensor. So that's how you work that one out. Pop the seal on already. Find its happiest position, so you're not forcing too many things down. Now the bearing caps are all numbered, inlet and exhaust. You just about see it on the exhaust 543, exhaust 2, etc. So numbered from that end backwards. So this one is E3. Numbers point outwards. That one is E2, which goes. Hang on a minute, folks. No, it's all right. It's all right. Please ignore the confusion. It's the bolts for the cam cover. So E5. That's it. That's E4. Right. That's it. So I got to be a bit confused there because the head was the other way around on the bench. So that's it. The cam cover fits on those four bigger studs. Panic over. So we've got the timing sensor there. There's the crank sensor, camshaft sensor. That's fine. So check all the numbers point outwards. Yeah, that's it. I have of course set the pistons down the bores a little bit, so there's no chance of any valve contact. There's quite a lot of lift on these actually compared to the Vauxhall engines, and you could end up with quite a catastrophic disaster. Just nip these down gently because the cam is slightly up against a couple of the valves. You just feel it start to go. And in fact, that one's not too bad at all. It's only gone down a little bit. You don't want to be forcing it down with a fully open because you will put a lot of load on these small bolts. Fit the front one afterwards, or no, in a minute, because obviously that one's going to have a little bit of sealant on it just on the corners. Right, that's those down. Basically nipped up. And these again just require that little bit of sealant just on this very edge here. And just on this edge here. And no more. Don't want to block this hole up. The cam cover seals here. So you just want to make sure that area there is just covered, and that's it. And don't touch anything else. Camshaft is fairly well oiled, but I will just make sure, especially this is the thrust area as well, so put a bit of extra on there for good luck. There are location dowels here to make sure this one goes down square, so don't try and dislodge the oil seal. Make sure that's back against the housing. And down she goes. Just check the oil seals in nicely. That's fine. Gasket goo to clean off, and they will need torquing in a moment. So it's basically just repeat for the other one. Plenty of oil on everything. Now these actually do go in this basic position, nearly timed. There's an offset on the end of the camshaft here, which is biased, as you can see, bars to the top, and that's where the timing bar goes. So once you set them in, that's almost at the top where it should be. So that's as good as timed, so there won't be any valve contact. I think you could possibly get valve to valve contact on these, so they are quite a lift and are slightly more of an angle than the GM unit. So here we have inlet 3, inlet 2, inlet 4, with a bit of luck, inlet 5. That's good. See, something you could get very easily fooled by on these, the numbers are on the side, right, but on the top is the casting number when Ford made it, and see, they are the opposite way around. So you could easily think, oh, all those go that way. No, they don't. Ignore that, only ever go by that. The Duratex are exactly the same. They just stick the caps on basically any way around, and then of course they line bore it in one go. So don't be fooled by that one. Some engines aren't marked at all, so you'll have to mark them yourselves and keep them in the right location. Or some of them have a dowel pin that only goes one way, and various other ways of doing it. But if there's nothing on them, make sure you make a note of which way around they go. And then when you finish, you just know all the numbers are out, or letters are out, 1 to 5. You can see all them on there, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hopefully, in an ideal world, it's the same this side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No, one's missing. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. This is good. And then the same on the bearing cap, just a little tiny bit on the edge there. Doesn't need any more than that. And there we go. Again, some of the earlier engines are like the GM units, they have different fixings for the cam cover. On this particular one, so they use this style, which is the metal cover. On the plastic cover, they do have some bolt holes around the edge. So, could you interchange? Yeah, I suppose one way you can interchange, but you may have the little bolt holes there. But yeah, as always, manufacturers change a few things. Right, well, I'll torque all those up, and then that concludes the assembly of the cams and torquing down of the head. And then I suppose it's move on to the front end. I haven't got a lot of the external components of this engine. Most have been removed. One item I have got somewhere is a breather for the side. I'd like to put that on so that nothing can drop into the engine, of course. Water housing I can seal off. I've got all the front end components, timing belt cover and all the rest of it. I haven't got a water pump at this stage. That can be fitted afterwards. So I have a flywheel for it, but I'm not sure if that flywheel is going to be used or not, but I'll pop it on anyhow. The timing belt does actually go over the water pump on these, but you can actually slide the pump in behind it, so it's not a major problem. So I'll get them tightened up and I'll bring you back in a moment. Right, that's all them tightened up and ready to go. It just occurs to me that it's a good idea to make sure that I have put those studs in the right place for the cover, and yes, we have. Not that it would have been difficult to swap them out, but it would have been quite funny. It'd be one of those classics, that would. But this is like a part of the belt cover back in. We'll go in now. Another item, get out of the way. Then it's a case of setting all the cam timing up and everything, so it's not too difficult on these, but you do need a few special tools and you've got to make sure you get it right. Because it doesn't have any woodruff keys or any dowels or anything, it relies totally on interference fit of the cam sprocket, both the cam pulleys and the crankshaft sprocket. So everything must be tightened up properly. It seems quite scary when you first come across this, but it seems to be fine and nothing horrible seems to happen. I do think for extreme use they do actually modify these and make them doweled or woodruff key, but for general purpose use they don't seem to be an issue. And these are going to be, again, they're very small bolts. They're also Loctited. Check the water pump again while we're here. Right, so that's that piece on. Now we've lost the belt tensioner. This is actually the intermediate version tensioner, I think, or early version. No, intermediate. There was one that had like a little hydraulic spring-loaded device. There's this version which has a slot adjustment here, It's constantly variable adjustment belt, but you do have to turn it with Allen key. There's a later version with simply 2 bolts there and that's it. So they've had a few goes at it over the years. I don't think there was any major problem with them. I think it was trying to speed up service time. So this engine had a genuine Ford timing belt kit fitted, and it's a Dayco part which Ford used. So the belt was almost new, so I've got no problem in putting that back. These seem very reliable on these engines, so there's no reason to throw it away. If it was an unknown brand, then maybe, but being a Dayco, which tends to make original for most Ford stuff, then it's fine by me. In fact, I'm going to have to look up the procedure on this in the manual because it's so long since I've used that type. All the later ones have always been the fixed type, just literally hold the tensioner back, snap it back against the belt, and that's it. But the manually adjustable one, I can't remember the last time I saw one of them. Having a nostalgic look in the old timing belt book for that one, I think. So that's concluded that. That will come back to in a moment. So basically now down to setting the timing. So I'll just move things around a little bit so you can get a better view of that, and we'll sort that out. Right, time to grab the timing tools. Wrong kit. Quite simply, in the back of the cylinder head goes this bar. It's got a variety of different cutouts for many jobs and fits all the Ford Zetecs, even the Duratec chain driven and quite a few other engines. It's had some serious use over the years. Just a question now, turning the cam so it locks in nicely. And that tool is not to be used to lock the camshafts when tightening the sprockets. That's what the flats on the camshaft are for the spanner. In fact, that's too big a spanner. Better? Because otherwise, if you attempt to do that, you will snap this piece of camshaft off. And I've seen that a few times where people have done that. So put the bar in, that gives you your cam timing. Then in the block here, you've got a pin you take out. That's the standard factory blanking plug. When you've timed these, you took the timing tool out, never forget to put that back in because you'll get a big mess. I'll confess to having done that on a 1.8 diesel, and that's at the front of the block, right in line with the crankshaft webs. And it did launch an incredible amount of oil out the front of the block very quickly. You put that pin in, you rotate the crankshaft round, you should feel it go, hit the pin. Just to make sure you've got it in exactly right place, top dead center tool. You should feel the piston coming up. Yeah, it's right on the top. You could have it in, I think on some engines, in the wrong place and it hits the crank somewhere else. But that's now locked against there. Mind you, it's like a technical fault. Someone's got to take that off. Put the sprocket on. I do like to put a tiny spot of oil in it, A, to stop it sticking, but B, so it will spin freely on the crank while you're setting the belt tension. Because if it's metal to metal and the load of the belt goes, it can stick, but that's nice. Don't put any oil on the back of these pulleys because that will be a fatal mistake. These pulleys aren't handed, they're exactly the same. And some of the early ones have plastic, or later ones have plastic. In fact, the last one they did actually had plastic pulleys, and I actually replaced them with metal ones because they seem to be alright, but I'm just not too sure about that. You just want these loose so they will turn, but obviously as they move a bit, it wants to tighten the bolt up. So, about there will do. Now it's a case of slipping the timing belt on. And then I'm going to have to go and read the book because I really can't remember. Right, one Dayco belt. Looks fine. So as there's no timing marks or anything anywhere, you just basically plonk this wherever you like. Doesn't make any difference at all. And amazing enough, that bolt on that slide appears to have caught. That's it. That's it. So it's almost like a demonstration on how a timing system works. And if I remember rightly, you have to turn this across, and I think the tensioner goes something like that. That'll be fine. Do it like that, just keeping things in place. Here we go. That's exactly how you start off. I know it all seems very wrong and very strange, but that's how you start off. So you tension the belt. Obviously you're going to turn that to get that in there. Or work out and get the exact procedure. You can get the water pump to go in behind there. It's fiddly. But worst case scenario, when it's all timed up, you can just put a spot of paint on the two pulleys, a spot here, pull the tensioner back off on the spring and just slip the belt off. So it's no big disaster. Here is actually the old water pump, and you see you can get it in there, no problem at all. Goes in on its dowels, so you can get to all the bolts. It's not a disaster. Just fits in there all right. Don't think we're putting that one back somehow. Look at that. Mind you, she's original Ford, so she's dated 99, so can't argue with that. We could have given it a bit of rejuvenation, bit of chemical metal in there, put a self-tapper in the hole, that'd be fine. Ironically, the bearings in it are still perfect. And the impeller's still good, you see how clean it was, so that's done well. So, that's got that to that stage, just say that's in there, the cams are right, cranks right. That's all in position, so that's about as far as I'm going to go with that for the moment. What I'll do then, I'll probably call this part 3. The rest of it's not exactly very exciting. All I'm going to do is remember the exact procedure for this, get that right, and then it's a case of torquing these up, putting the pulley on and torquing that up, and then checking it all and adjusting as necessary. I will be fitting a flywheel lock. I've got the flywheel locking tool, so we can tighten this bolt up here. And that's it. So I will probably just paint the bottom pulley because that looks absolutely awful while I'm at it. So I've got all the belt covers, so I'll call that part 3, and then I'll probably make a short part 4 about the finishing touches. So I think that's where we'll leave it for now. Go and read the book, have another cup of tea, and then I'll be getting the parts to be here any moment to finish the Vauxhall stock car engine off, so I'll get that done. And that'll be that one out of the way, then I'll come back to this. So I'll sign off for now, so Thanks very much indeed for watching. Please like and subscribe, and bye for now.